Hello, in this video I'm going to discuss how to start your own business. This is the first in a series of videos, but in this video I'm going to discuss how to come up with a business idea, how to determine whether that's a valid idea, what it takes to actually be a successful entrepreneur, and how to decide a legal structure for your business. Well, you've probably guessed by just the name of this channel that my name is Luther. I've actually started several businesses, and some of them have actually succeeded. I've had a fairly long career in the work world, and I've been self-employed really for over half of that. Some of my businesses have been quite successful. To finish off my working life, though, I moved into higher education, and for the last 12 years, I've served as a business professor and an administrator. So in this video, I'm going to share some thoughts on what it takes to start your own business from idea to launch. And I'm going to be sharing, what I've learned from my own personal experiences, the experiences of those that I've worked with, and also what I've learned as being a business professor. So sit back and enjoy, and I'll help you out, and hopefully we'll get your business up and running. A business has to start from somewhere, and that somewhere is usually an idea. And so in the first portion of this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about that idea, how to develop an idea, how to test the idea to see whether or not it's valid, and of course, how to increase your chances of that idea being able to turn into a successful business. Before we look at your idea too much in depth here, let's just take a quick side trip and let's talk about your own personality. Well, it's a given fact that certain personality types are going to do better as being entrepreneurs than others. And one of the most important things is your life outlook, and that is whether you are an optimist or a pessimist. Now, if you're an optimist, when you start a business, you're sure it's going to go, and you're going to do everything you can to make sure that it goes. And if you tend for pessimism, you're going to be thinking, oh, it's not going to work, I'm going to fail, what if this happens, what if that happens? And typically, it's not always the case, but typically pessimists are really not good entrepreneurs. And if you really do tend to be a pessimist, then maybe you want to work for somebody else, at least for a while, till you can maybe get into a business idea that you're sure will work. Another thing is if you think you can't succeed, you probably won't. Be sure that you're going to have the attitude that is just going to do everything you can to succeed in your business. If you fear failure, then really, truly, being an entrepreneur is probably not the best career path for you. Well, while we're considering don't fear failure, let's look at someone who didn't fear failure. Well, I'm sure we've all heard of Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse, but Walt Disney started out and he felt that he had a calling in his life to help other people enjoy life and become happy, primarily through his art, and he wanted to earn a living doing that at the same time. Well, he started out working for a short time for a newspaper, and he was quickly fired, and he was told, "You're not creative at all." But he didn't give up. So he partnered with another man and they started creating animated advertisings. But that business soon was in shambles, and Disney had more bills than he had income. And the result was Disney actually had to file for bankruptcy and close that business. He failed miserably. Well, getting fired and going bankrupt didn't dissuade him. He continued to follow his dream. After his business failed and going bankrupt, he moved to Hollywood and he continued to pursue his dreams. Well, he had some additional setbacks, as you might guess, but finally, in 1955, he opened Disneyland, and that was the culmination of all his dreams. Had he decided just to give up when he was fired and told that he wasn't very creative, or maybe after he was bankrupt, well, we wouldn't have any of the Disney empire today. So again, don't fear failure. It may happen, and if it does, just pick yourself up, and we'll discuss that just a little bit further here. You may want to become as successful as Walt Disney was, but remember, he didn't succeed the first time he tried. So you may fail as well. So should that happen, and it very well may, like we said, you need to learn from your experiences and just pick up and go. Now, John C. Maxwell is one of my favorite authors. In his book, Failing Forward, he sums up the concept this way. So when I was growing up, one of the questions I used to hear from a motivational speaker was, if the possibility of failure were erased, what would you attempt to achieve? Well, that seems like a very intriguing question, and at the time it prompted me to look ahead at life's possibilities. But then one day I realized that it was a really bad question. Why? Because it takes a person's thinking down the wrong track. There is no achievement without failure. To imply that it might be possible gives people the wrong impression, and that's John C. Maxwell in Failing Forward. All right, let's get back to your idea, your own business idea, which is probably why you're watching this video. So, as you're kicking around some ideas for your new business, you need to kind of figure out exactly what your business is going to do. Now, really, truly, to succeed, your business should solve a problem. Now, solving a problem means that there's a market. If you solve a problem that nobody has, then there isn't going to be a market for that. So, new ideas have the best chance of success when people realize they have a problem, and by golly, your product or service is going to solve that problem. But sometimes entrepreneurs solve a problem even before people are aware they have that problem. Think about Uber or Airbnb, for example. Now, the business you're thinking about starting should also be something that you have some experience about, or can learn about, or can hire some experts. So for example, maybe you have a great idea and you want to bring unlimited free energy to the world using hydrogen fuel cells. Well, that's a great idea, but if you don't know anything about hydrogen fuel cells, then maybe you want to look at a different area for your business. So how do people come up with great business ideas? Well, let's look at just a couple of examples here. So Jeff Bezos, for Amazon, he was working for an investment firm, and he was researching, and he realized that, oh my gosh, this thing called the internet is growing by 2,300% a year. And so he came up with the idea that, hey, I think I can sell some products. And he started out with books, as we all know, online. And the end result was Amazon. Well, how about Uber? Uber came about as a result of frustration trying to find a taxi cab. The founder of Uber said, hey, there's got to be a better way here to get a taxi than flag them down and nobody's coming, especially on a snowy night in Paris. Well, how about that life-altering product, Doritos Locos Tacos? Well, that all started from just a brainstorming session at the corporate level. And they had realized, or market research had told them, that millennials wanted food with an experience. So folks got together from Taco Bell and Frito-Lay, and they came up with an idea of a co-branded product. And the result, of course, was a taco shell made out of Doritos. Bear with me as I share a personal example with you here. Soon after I started a computer training company, I just did one-day classes on Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, that sort of thing. I realized there were people all around me who needed new careers. The economy was at that point very, very bad, and I knew of a lot of people personally who were being laid off from manufacturing jobs, and they couldn't find even an entry-level job in an office because they lacked the computer skills. So I knew about teaching computers, and I saw a problem. So what did I come up with? Well, my goal was to help people and also make money at the same time. So seizing the opportunity, I revised my curriculum and I started making it long term. So to give them the skills from ground zero to being able to go into an office and function. And we did a basic accounting, we did medical office billing. And before long, I had 21 employees working for me. I had 15 classrooms going strong, and I had schools located in 8 cities within my state. Now, most importantly, I helped hundreds of people get back into the workplace. So I saw a problem and I solved that problem, and there was indeed a market for it, and so I was able to turn that into a very successful business. So as you're mulling over your own idea for your business, let's put it to the test here. Are you solving a valid problem? Do you have experience or expertise in that field that you can make it work? And can you make it a success? Are you sure in your heart of hearts that it's going to work? You have that optimistic spirit. If that's the case, well, let's continue on and see what we can do to put that business idea to work. Now, as you're developing your idea just a little bit further, let's talk about the category that it might fall into. Typically, businesses are going to fall into three broad categories: products, services, or distribution methods. Products are something that your business creates or maybe resells. It might be clothing, maybe it's baking cookies, or it might buy and resell cell phones. Services would include things like computer repair, cell phone repair, bookkeeping, tax preparation, oil changes, pet sitting. A restaurant's kind of a combination of both product and service. And then it might even be something like a distribution method. Now, a distribution method is changing the way people get certain products. An example that might be FedEx. Before FedEx was around, we just had the post office. Uber definitely changes a distribution method of how we get rides. We don't have to rely just on taxis. And way back in the old days, think about Netflix when it started delivering DVDs in the mail. That was a distribution method. So think about what category your business idea is going to fall into. So let's continue helping you refine your idea. Just because you think you have a great idea, it still might not be. You don't want to spend tons of money and time developing an idea that nobody's going to buy. So we need to test your idea with people other than friends and families because they're only going to tell you what you want to hear. So first off, you need to figure out who your market is. Who are you going to market this product to? That's called your target market. Now, you might segment your target market by a certain age group. Maybe you're looking for college students or senior citizens. Maybe it's gender related. Maybe it's in education level or income level. So then once you've identified who your target market is, you need to survey members of that particular market. Stand on the street corner, go to the mall, go to the colleges, and share your idea. Now, don't give them all the details, but just say, hey, if you have this problem and you had a solution that could do XYZ. But once you've identified who the market is, take a look at that target market and see if they're excited about it. If they're not excited about the solution you're proposing, then it's maybe not a good idea. Let me give you another personal example. I knew better one time, but I had an idea that I thought was a great web application. Um, I spent a lot of time developing this particular product, way more than I want to admit, and I was sure it was going to sell, and everybody was going to subscribe to my website and make me millions of dollars. Well, um, it was a great solution, but there really wasn't a problem. And I teach entrepreneurial classes, I have in the past at college, and it's the same thing. Students come up with great ideas, but once they flesh it out with the target market, they find out that no, that maybe isn't an idea that is going to sell. So you want to do that. You don't want to invest time and money on something that is solving a problem that nobody has, or it really isn't solving a problem anybody cares about. All right, let's continue to refine your idea. I'm going to introduce you very briefly to something called the marketing mix. Now, the marketing mix are product, price, promotion, place, sometimes called distribution. And really, to excel, your product or service or distribution idea has to be better than the competition in some way or another. Your product has to be better, your price has to be better, your advertising method has to be better, or how you distribute it or where people can get your product has to be better. So think about, as you're working with your own idea, in which of these areas are you better? What is your area of betterness with your particular business idea? Well, if you're still here and you've validated your business idea, well, the next step is to decide what kind of legal structure your business is going to take. So in the next few slides here, we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of legal structure you can choose for your business and some of the advantages and disadvantages to each. So as you're considering how to legally structure your business, some of the terms and structures you'll run into are sole proprietorship, partnerships, corporations, C Corp, S Corp, and LLC. So let's go ahead and go over the advantages and disadvantages of these as you figure out which one you're going to choose. All right, let's go ahead and start with a sole proprietorship. Now, let's start with advantages. Now, the first advantage of the sole proprietorship is you're the boss. No one tells you how to run the business. You are it. You make all the decisions. Number two, sole proprietorships are very easy to set up. You don't have to worry about filing with the Secretary of State and filing corporate papers and filing names with the IRS, that sort of thing. You just get a license when you need it, get a bank account, and you're off and running. This could be an advantage or sometimes a disadvantage, but it usually is better tax-wise for sole proprietorship because you're only taxed at the personal income level. It is taxed as personal income. Now, there are some also disadvantages, and just like you being the boss is an advantage, that's also a disadvantage. It can be a disadvantage because you're making all the decisions. Well, there's no team to help you make better decisions and to prevent you from making bad decisions. So that's both an advantage and a disadvantage. Number two, this is really significant with sole proprietorships. It's called unlimited liability. That is just exactly what it says. You are the business, and so if something happens to someone that comes into your business, they trip and fall and they sue the business. Well, guess what? You are the business. They're suing you. If you have lots of personal assets, this is definitely something that you want to think about. That's a definite disadvantage to a sole proprietorship. And sole proprietorships also have limited growth opportunity because there only can be one owner. It can just be you. So you can't sell a portion of the business as a sole proprietorship. There's also some problems with the limited lifespan. If you die or you pass away unexpectedly, well, in theory at least, the business ceases to exist. Now, that doesn't mean that your spouse or your heirs couldn't take over the assets and even continue to run the business, but they're going to have to change the legal structure. Now, another significant disadvantage of sole proprietorship is taxes. Yes, it's only taxed as personal income, but self employment taxes often are a surprise to people that start a small business. When you are on payroll, you pay Social Security and Medicare taxes, but you know, your employer also pays that as well. But when you are the employer, when you're your own boss, you have to pay both you and the employer's portion, and that's just slightly more than 15% of your income, in addition to the taxes on the profit. So there you have it, sole proprietorship advantages and disadvantages. Let's take a brief look at partnerships. Partnerships are really not as popular as they used to be. Some of the advantages, though, is that it takes more than one person to form a partnership, and so there's two or more people helping make the decisions. And partnerships can survive after a partner passes away. And one thing you can do is you can get a really, really rich and really, really smart partner. And of course, that gives you some additional financial resources instead of relying just on your own. So there are some disadvantages. Just like a sole proprietorship, a partnership also has unlimited liability. That means if your partner makes some really stupid decisions and spends way more money and causes the business to essentially go bankrupt, well, guess what? Your personal assets are part of that as well. Remember Walt Disney having to go bankrupt? He was in a partnership, and so that is one of the disadvantages. Another disadvantage, of course, if you've got two people involved with the business, two people owning the business, we have to share the profits. And of course, if you've got more people helping you make decisions, there's also potential for disagreements. And another disadvantage is partnerships are sometimes difficult to terminate, depending on how the partnership agreement is written out. You might not be able to sell your half of the business to somebody that your other partner doesn't agree with. So there's some advantages and disadvantages of partnerships. So think carefully before you decide to get into a legal partnership structure for your business. Regular corporations, sometimes called C Corp, also have significant advantages and disadvantages. So let's go over those. So, one of the most important advantages with a corporation is that your personal assets are separate from the business assets. If someone sues the business or the business goes bankrupt, you are protected from that. Um, it's also a lot easier to sell a corporation. You can sell a portion of it. It's not just tied to one particular person. It's also a lot better for growth potential, again, because you can sell stock. Eventually, when your corporation is large enough, you can actually go public. And the access to this particular funding source makes this very easy to grow a corporation. It's far beyond what a sole proprietorship or partnership could do. Um, a corporation also can live forever. You've probably heard somewhere somebody kind of joking or not jokingly, corporations are people too. Well, legally, they actually do have personhood or an entity, and so they can go on forever. Standard Oil goes on forever. The corporations that were started, in 1700s, some of those are still going on. Well, the disadvantages of corporations, they're difficult to set up. Most often, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, you're going to need an attorney to do that. It's not a requirement, but it sure helps. There's federal and state requirements that you have to meet in order to set up a corporation. A lot more paperwork and tax returns involved in doing corporations both at the state and the federal level. So just a little bit more work. And then there's also something called double taxation. The corporation is taxed for its profits, just like personal income. It has a specific rate. But then if you own part of that corporation and that corporation distributes part of the profits to you, you have to pay taxes on that as investment received from the corporation as well. So you're paying taxes, and the corporation is paying taxes, and you're paying taxes on profits that the corporation already paid taxes on, which is called double taxation. Another disadvantage, as your corporation grows, is that their shareholders have a say. They are owners of the business, and you've heard of things like hostile takeovers and advocate investors, things like that. So you're going to have lots of bosses potentially. So again, just disadvantages and advantages, or all of these business structures. Well, let's talk about a couple of other pseudo corporations. Now, an S corp has some of the significant advantages of a C corp, but it also has some advantages of more like a sole proprietorship. One of those is that an S corp can be taxed as your own personal tax rate, and this is great when you're first starting out, because if you're losing money as a C corp, you can't count that as a personal loss, but you could with an S corp. So there is no double taxation. There are some limitations as how many members you can have, um, and it could limit how it can grow. But the cool thing is, if you start out as an S corp, you can at least one time change it to a C corp as you need to. So S corps are great for startups. Limited liability companies, or LLCs, they're similar to S corps, in that they can have the income pass through as a personal the personal income tax rate. You have limited liability just as you do with C corps and S corps. They're easy to sell. You don't have some of the limitations on an LLC that you do on an S corp. They're a little bit more difficult to set up than a sole proprietorship, but again, these are also great for startups as well. So LLC, another good option. So which legal structure is right for you? Which one should you choose? Well, most businesses, especially when they're small, start out as sole proprietorships. It gives them a chance to easily set it up and try it out. So if you're starting something small like a dog walking business, and you don't have a lot of personal assets to worry about, and you don't need to worry about risking them, then it's a great place to start and try the business out. You can always convert it to another type of business as it starts to grow. As you start getting some personal assets, you can take it into a corporation or an LLC. Now, on the other hand, if you've got a world-changing idea, you're going to start those hydrogen fuel cell cars that I was talking about earlier, and you need lots of investors, and you need a big business right to start with, well, then you're going to want to incorporate right off the bat. I do want to just give you a little bit of advice here. It's really not a bad idea to consult with an attorney and a CPA as you're thinking about setting up your business. Even if you're starting small, you can consult for just a few bucks. A lot of times, a CPA or an attorney will give you the first consult almost free. But again, just it's a good idea to get expert advice, both for taxes and for legal structure as you're considering a business. Watching a video like this is a great place to start as you're mulling over your business idea and trying to take it into a real business. But you don't have to do it alone. There's lots of other resources out there. There's the Small Business Administration. They have a great website. There's all kinds of training and tools out there. And then also, more than likely, if you're in a decent sized town, there's something called the Small Business Development Center that is actually funded by the SBA. Often they're tied to colleges, and these provide free business consulting as well. So if you've got a world-changing idea, you want to get as much help as you can as you put this business idea together. Good luck with your business idea. I hope you turn it into a very successful business. Thanks for watching. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about how to create a business plan and how to access some financing opportunities. So if you like this video, please consider liking it. Please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And as I mentioned before, I have lots and lots of resources out on my website, luthermaddy.com. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next video.